Hey everyone, my name is Zach. I'm a 22-year-old competitive boulderer from Canada, currently living near Frankfurt, Germany. Welcome back to the COMPCLIMB training series, where I record all of my training, provide in-depth analysis of every session, and just chat about climbing with an emphasis on competition. We're at Boulderwelt this morning for our canvas session. And actually I just want to start this episode off by mentioning something that maybe is like kind of easy to forget. I have gotten a few messages on like social media or just like questions in person sometimes, like asking about like a session or like something about one of the recent episodes. And I try to include the sort of clip of the date like at the beginning of every video and like when I do the close-up of the program, and it's in the title as well, but it can be easy to miss sometimes. So when these episodes come out, it's like this is a session from like 2 weeks ago at present time. So I find with the way these videos are coming out, I'm going to have it probably be around like a 2-week delay, just for context. Just to remember that like these episodes aren't coming out in real time. I like to have a bit of a 2-week buffer just so that I have more time to edit videos if I need to and whatnot. So yeah, these sessions aren't happening in real time, and future Zach is doing something different than what you're watching currently when you're watching this episode. About a 2-week delay. And look at this. Hey, here you see we've been trying this campus boulder for like probably 3 or 4 sessions now at this point, and I finally stick this crux move for the first time today. I was feeling pretty strong in my warm-up, and it was interesting. I felt like I had like a lot of energy, and so I could, it's weird. The nature of like having like subtle, like different, like small feelings in your body, it can be so easy to understand like how your body feels, and you can like sort of sense like how your body feels differently from session to session, but it's hard to articulate it sometimes. So I take that back. I didn't actually feel strong today. It was weird. I felt almost actually a little bit cold and a little bit stiff and kind of weak. But I had a lot of energy, and I found that I could really try super hard and almost maximize the amount of strength that I had to work with on the given day. It's kind of a weird sort of like abstract idea, but I find myself like trying to explain how I'm feeling a lot of the times in my sessions, and I'm not able to articulate it well. And I want to like try and provide context for like how I'm feeling on a given day, but sometimes it's gonna be hard. But it was interesting today that I actually didn't feel super strong, but I felt like I had a whole lot of energy for some reason. I got a good night's sleep, and I could almost bring out the amount of power that I had very well. And the amount of power felt low, but I had a lot of energy. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, so they had like a fun event here at Boulderwelt, like last weekend. It was called the Summer Series, and they set like 30 boulders or something. It was like sort of a fun little competition. I think the top end of the boulders looked maybe a little bit tricky. There were probably like a couple 8s. One of the setters was telling me. And so I haven't like bouldered on them yet or anything. We haven't had a boulder session yet. But as I was like walking to the campus wall, this boulder caught my eye, and I kind of immediately I saw like, hey, this looks like a super cool challenge to campus. And when I was like when it caught my eye and I was looking at it at first glance, I thought that I would try to do like a campus paddle at the beginning of this boulder. And it's funny, I was actually motivated and inspired to try this boulder as like a campus paddle by a video that came out recently on the Flathold YouTube channel. I am like a big fan of this YouTube channel. They make really epic like films about like the World Cup, or I don't know, anything that has to do with Flathold. Like, I guess a little disclaimer, I'm not sponsored by Flathold or anything, but this YouTube channel is like probably one of my favorite climbing channels. And they make like really sick edits, a lot of like good edits of like some World Cups that have happened where there have been, I think Flathold has been like sponsoring the event or something, I don't know. But a video came out recently about the World Championships, and it like highlighted the last boulder in the men's final. And it was just like a cool story. And like that boulder was like a campus paddle, if you remember. And so like I just watched this video recently of like sort of highlighting this campus paddle and sort of the idea and the thought process that went behind into setting this boulder. And so I had campus paddles in the mind, and this move was pretty similar. It's almost like you have these slippers where you go bop, bop, bop through the paddle. But as you can see here, I kind of gave like a couple half tries to the paddle, but these holds were like way too bad to paddle on. It didn't make sense, and they were not angled properly. So I ended up having to like try this crazy hard static sequence through this. Oh, by the way, I'm going to link that Flathold video just in the description just for context. It was a really cool video. It got me really hyped up. But yeah, I had to try this like maximum effort, like super like right on the line of being possible for me, static campus sequence through these slopers. such a cool boulder. This one, I had so much fun working this campus climb. It is sort of my favorite style of campus boulder, like the almost bouncy kind of campusing, where it's like not just a kind of campus where you just can try really hard and like squeeze and like just kind of turn your brain off and just campus through these moves. I have to be so careful while I'm matching this first hold, and it's like so precarious. And then I was trying to, like, for a while I tried to go match the first hold and then just do a campus on the last two moves, but it was crazy that I had to static my way through this whole sequence. I couldn't do any sort of paddling. It made for a really cool move. And the start hold is kind of interesting. It's like kind of gets more positive as you go to the right, but then obviously the hold kind of turns into more of a side pull. So I found myself having to balance like how much I wanted to grab a down pull and how much I wanted to grab the better part of the hold. It's kind of one of those classic scenarios, which is kind of interesting. And then yeah, like the next pinch that you're going to is also pretty bad. I have to hit it absolutely perfectly. If I don't hit it in the best spot, I can't hold these two holds. It is so limit for me. And then you see the ending's pretty cool. The zone hold is pretty good. And then second last hold is like, all right, it's kind of flat. And the finish hold is pretty decent. And I'm getting really close to some of my tries. And as you'll notice, this is kind of a rule that I have for campusing. I allow myself to stop my momentum with my feet against the wall. You see how I'm kind of tapping the wall with just even my sock on, and that kind of helps me control my swing. That's just kind of like a etiquette rule that I allow myself to have during campus sessions. I allow myself to not smear on the wall, but just sort of stop my swing by tapping it. And it kind of works well too, because it's like uncomfortable to use the wall with socks on, like without shoes on. So if I smack the wall too hard or I use it too much, it's going to hurt me. So it's kind of like I can only use it just enough with socks on to the point where I'm not like cheating the boulder. But you can see I'm trying this so many times. I worked this boulder for a while. I thought it was going to be hard, but I didn't realize I was going to get caught up in it, and it was going to be such an epic project. It was a lot of fun. And you can just see like it's crazy how inconsistent some of my tries are. Like sometimes I'll like match this hold really well, and sometimes I won't even be able to hold it at all. And it was interesting. I was actually almost, because of the texture of these holds, I was realizing I actually had to use a technique that was like similar to the idea that I've been talking about with the Beastmaker slopers that we've been training on recently, where I actually wanted a little bit less chalk on my hands than I wanted, or than I usually put. And I actually found myself trying to leave a little bit of sweat, and that helped me stick a bit better. Which was interesting, just because of the texture of these holds. They were almost like wood. But yeah. And so here we are about to get our send go of this boulder. The session was winding down. The pressure was starting to sink in. And I've just been, this has been the theme of like the last bunch of sessions where I just get super motivated by the end of the session when the timer's running down and I'm about to lose an opportunity to do this boulder, and I find the motivation to just send it. But also there's something I did here on this attempt. Pay attention here if you'll notice. You see how I kind of stop my swinging around that I have been doing on all my previous tries? And I did something. It was pretty cool too. As soon as I thought to do this, I sent the boulder. And this is going to bring me into my tip of the day. So what I did there when I stopped my swing is I lowered my arms a bit. Like I kind of sunk down from the bent position and sort of hung there and stopped all my momentum. And I was just almost hanging on this hold. It seems kind of counterintuitive because it's like you kind of just want to work your way through the slopers almost as fast as possible. I'll pause and just talk about this boulder as well really quick. I decided to go a little bit overtime for my campus session because I didn't expect to actually be able to campus this whole boulder. Like obviously it's not made to be campused at all, but this first move looked cool. I definitely thought that I could campus this first move. It might actually just be supposed to be like a campus move in the boulder as well. But then this next move was like way too big, but the first move was really cool. So I kind of just messed around and campused for an hour instead of our normal 45-minute session. And then we're about to go do Boulderhaus for our workout. So yeah, tip of the day. What I did is, usually like you'd think like you would want to just kind of make your way through those slopers as fast as possible, because the more you hang on them, the worse the friction's going to be. Like your hands are going to get sweaty, and then you're just going to get more fatigued. But I found it was worth the investment almost to sort of stop myself and just hang, because what it did is, by stopping my momentum completely and then taking the time to sort of lower down a bit, what it did is it created a perfect starting position. Like, obviously, I think it was probably the try before or a couple tries prior, I stuck the second move for the first time individually. And the way I did that is I just like started on the hold and then I just did the move individually. And so like this is a common theme with climbing actually as well, and you can apply this to like lots of dynos and any sort of like a lot of different sort of moves, like coordination moves or running moves, is when you can break these moves up into like separate bits and really like isolate each element of like a movement. It can help you a lot. And so what I did is, instead of trying to be like, okay, I'm campusing and I'm matching on the sloper, and then I have to like just find a way to get to the next hold and just squeeze really hard, I decided to separate it up a bit, and it helped. So what I did is I created a new move, and I just went and I sunk down and I hung on those slopers as though I was mimicking me just pulling on the wall from the ground. And because I had stuck it like pretty comfortably when I did that, and so I tried to mimic that while I was having the send go. And not only just like by breaking up the moves did that help, but basically my tip of the day, I would say, is that when you have that sort of move with slopers, whether it be a campus move or this can even apply with your feet on the wall. It's very, very, very important to control the amount of momentum you have, like, which is pretty obvious. This isn't necessarily like a groundbreaking idea, but it's like you really just need to emphasize. Basically, you can start from a low position like I was doing, like I'm just hanging on this hold, and you want to, when you pull up to do your move, pull up with the exact amount of force that you need. Like you want to hit that next hold and not move at all. You want to start from a completely still position, pull up a little bit, and then end in a completely still position. The less amount of like bobbling you have, the better, because on holes that are that bad and that slopey, any sort of little bobble or spin, you're just like hands are going to slip a bit and you're going to be off when it's like at the maximum limit of your like friction and sticking capabilities. So I found when I stopped all my swinging around, and instead of trying to like swing desperately and catch this hold and pinch it really hard, and just when I kept falling when I was doing that, by stopping, hanging a bit lower, and just creating just the amount of movement that I needed, and I hit the sloper and then nothing moved. Like that is really helpful with these sort of sloper moves, where it's like kind of like straight up between really slopey holds. And this can, like I said, this can work with your feet are on the wall. Like let's say you're just pretend this is the same move. I got the sloper and I got a foot on the wall. I would just pull up to that sloper and then I hit the end position and I don't move at all. You basically want to start from a completely still position, only use the amount of force and like movement that you need to hit the sloper, and then stop. And that's how you can balance on those holds really well. Another good little example of this is if you can think back to a few sessions ago when we had a session at Studiblock Mannheim, and it was like our revenge session. It was our revenge day when we did a bunch of boulders that I got my butt kicked on prior. That boulder with like the volumes, like the super slopey volumes, where I was kind of talking about how sometimes it's good to just hang on the slopers, and sometimes it's actually better to not use your feet. If you remember that boulder, I did this sort of same thing where on the end of that boulder, on the really bad slopey volumes, I kind of hung from that sloper. I didn't use my feet on this boulder as well, because it just helped me sort of do this idea where you just pull up with the amount of force that you need, and then you kind of end in a very still position. It's definitely a bit like sort of specific. It's a very specific kind of move, but that's my tip of the day, is to basically just be as still as possible on these sort of sloper moves. And you can start from a low hang and end in a very still position. And just really make sure you're not swinging around. But that yellow campus boulder was so cool, eh? I really enjoyed that boulder. After a few tries, like in the middle of working that boulder, I was starting to get like way far off of it, and I didn't think it was going to be possible. I was like, okay, this is just going to be a little bit too hard. But then I started getting a bit closer as well. I just started learning the movement more, and then eventually got the send of it really cool. And then I'm just going to take a second now while we're doing our pistol squats to shout out our title sponsor for the COMPCLIMB series, which is Climbers Rock. It's Maddie and I's home gym in Canada, and it's the most absolutely fantastic climbing gym in the Toronto area. And without their support, this video series wouldn't be possible. So we have their link in the description for more information. And yeah, so that kind of wrapped up our campus session. Like I mentioned, we went to Boulderhaus to do our workout. This is like our go-to place for all the workouts now. They have an epic setup. And actually had a strong feeling workout. I rested a good amount. And then I did like the heaviest crimping session we'd done in a while at 114 pounds. And then I bumped up the weight of my sloper hangs too, now that I have like a good technique for sticking to it. Did 88 pounds, and we had decent pinching. And then look at me, I'm finally, so I keep forgetting to mention this too as well. It's like I've skipped my military press like a couple times in the past few weeks. And it's just because I always do it at the end of my workout, and I'm always just hit a wall by this point, and I get lazy and I just stop it. I convince myself that I just make up excuses because I just want to go home and like start my rest day. And I was about to do it again today, but I had to be like, no, I can't keep skipping this. Otherwise, it may as well not be in the program. So we finally did our military presses today. Like, thank goodness. And then I decided to do it with like a bar today instead of like the 2 different dumbbells that they had set up, because they were kind of harder to set up and it was just easier to do on the bar. But yeah, I think I need to, maybe I need to start doing the military presses like sooner in the workout or something, because I've been skipping them a bunch lately, which has been bad. So I don't actually think we're going to be seeing much progress with it recently because I keep skipping it. But I'll be better, I promise. So anyway, that was a solid day of training in the books. Tomorrow's a rest day, and Maddie and I are actually going to take the train up to Munich because like Oktoberfest is going on, and Munich has a great celebration for Oktoberfest, and so we're just going to hang out, take part in that, and train at Element as well. So we only have a couple more days of this training cycle before we got a nice rest week, which I'm really starting to need. We've been doing a lot of physical training, just like maximum power training. I'm starting to get super tired and need this rest week. So it'll be an exciting way to finish off this training cycle by training at Element. Insert catchy outro to the video here.